Hello and welcome back to KXAN Plus. I'm your host, Esmeralda Zamora, and today we have our Nick's First Warning Weather segment with KXAN's Chief Meteorologist, Nick Bannin. Nick, thanks for joining me. How are you doing?
I'm good, Esme. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. We have an audience here with us.
It is very
show.
rare. It's just you and I here having a little conversation, but we have 4 additional guests in our KXAN Plus studios today, which is super nice, including our own Jim Spencer.
Yeah, so if you hear any laughs or any voices, you know who it is.
Yeah, Jim, come on over. Just say hi real quick.
Hi,
Jim here joining us. So we're going to dive into the July forecast.
I lost my razor.
Yeah, where did that go? You might have to shave that before July. It's going to get hot under there. So anyway, this is a fun one to have here today. And we'll see if the applause sign is working, Esme.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, you just mentioned it. We are doing a July forecast outlook. What are the updates that you have for us?
Yeah, so the Climate Prediction Center puts out 2 main outlooks for the month of July. They do one in mid-June, and then they do one on the final day in June. So we're going to lead up to that. First, I want to take you through the first week of July. Which, of course, begins next Tuesday. Would you believe it? We're almost done with June.
Around the corner.
It is so close. So the outlook for the first week of July here in Central Texas and really much of the state is leaning wetter than normal. This isn't particularly soggy, and July is not a very wet month for us. So this doesn't mean a lot of rain necessarily, but it means that our chances for rain are a little higher than our chances of staying completely dry, which is what we do often in the month of July. For the same period, July 1st through the 7th, leaning warmer than normal as well. And July, as we're going to get into, is usually our second hottest month of the year. So if we're even warmer than what is typically a very hot month, then that doesn't bode well. And certainly I think we've got the return of triple digits not too far around the corner. I know, we had 2 in the month of May. Only 2011 had more triple digits in the month of May than we did this May with the 2. But then we haven't had any in June. So it's like, okay, well, we had them in May instead of June, but now we look ahead, I know, and it looks like summer is really going to start feeling like it here pretty soon.
Well, we know July is the hottest month of the year. And
second hottest month,
Second
actually.
hottest?
Yeah, August is the hottest.
It feels like the hottest so far.
It's certainly with a combination of the humidity in the air, which we'll have plenty of after some recent rain anyway. It may feel like one of the hottest months for sure. So what is the outlook? I know you're wondering. So the preliminary outlook from a temperature perspective for the month of July is actually near normal from the metro and northeast, leaning slightly warmer than normal southwest of Austin. And from a rain perspective, again, a month that we don't usually get much rain, it is looking near normal then as well, meaning the odds don't really point one way or another, wet or dry. So generally speaking, expecting near normal rainfall for July. Here's what is normal for July, by the way. Average highs at the beginning of the month start at 95. Average highs by the end of the month climb all the way to 99. Our average lows go from 74 at the beginning of July to 76 by the end. So not a lot of overnight temperature changes here during the month. It's usually just warm every night in the mid 70s. And then we only get 1.96 inches of rain. Only the month of February is actually drier than the month of July, which means that it's our second hottest and second driest months of the year, which makes it easier to remember, Esme.
Well, let's jump back to that rain forecast. You mentioned we weren't going to get much rain, but how likely is it that we experience an active tropical season this month?
Yeah, certainly the tropics are a big part of what could bring us beneficial rain in the summer months and into early fall as well. I could actually jump ahead to the tropical outlook because funny enough, as we talk here today, our first named storm of the Atlantic developed, and it's not expected to be a long-lasting one. This is Tropical Storm Andrea, way out there in the middle of the Atlantic, not expected to impact any land masses whatsoever. But you can see as we look at the tropical frequency map here, which basically looks at historically where has the activity been in each month, you can see it does start to grow a little bit in the month of July. Typically not our busiest month for the tropics, but we start seeing a bit more activity. That activity usually starts either in the Gulf, closer to Florida or off the eastern seaboard with a bit more regularity. But it's really when we get into August and September that the frequency of tropical systems of any kind starts to go up. And then as we get into October and then eventually November, that activity starts to wane. So certainly July can be a month where we see tropical activity in the Gulf that could bring us rain, or out in the Caribbean that then moves into the Gulf that can bring us rain. But it is way too far out, even here with just a week to go into July, to say that whether we're going to get a storm of that type to bring us beneficial rain in July. What we can almost guarantee, though, what was that?
When does the tropical event get a name?
When does the tropical
event get a name?
Oh, when does a tropical system get a name? Yes. So generally speaking, that typically happens once it becomes a tropical depression or stronger, is my memory is being tested here. But yeah, tropical depression or stronger gets a name. Actually, tropical storm or stronger gets a name. And that's why Andrea today was given a name, because it finally became a tropical storm. So tropical storms or stronger get the names. And Andrea was our first name of the season. And that was the storm we have today, but we don't have anything to worry about that one.
And Andrea is out in the ocean right now. Is there a specific name that meteorologists call these tropical storms that are not specifically hitting landfall but are disrupting the ocean?
You know, that's a great question. And we'll also often call them fish storms if they're out in the middle of nowhere. Because they're impacting the fish more than anything else. What we do have to remember, though, is that they can also impact a lot of boats that bring cargo across the oceans, too. So it isn't just fish that get impacted by those storms in the middle of the ocean, nowhere near islands or lands, but it is usually a storm that we certainly worry less about than others. And, of course, our big focus as we head into the summer months, while we'll keep an eye on the tropics, is the triple-digit heat, which we don't think we can avoid, Esme.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we're avoiding it this July.
No.
What is the average for July?
Yeah, so we averaged 3 triple-digit days in June. We haven't had any this June. We had 2 in May. And then we see usually a big uptick in the number of triple-digit days as we head into July at 10. And then that jumps up to 13 in August, which usually has our most triple-digit days of the year. And August is also our hottest month of the year overall. So it would sort of make sense that we had the most triple-digit days there in the month of August. And then it drops down to 3 in September. So adding all these up, we averaged 29 triple-digit days in Austin at Camp Mabry through the year from June through September. And we've had 2 so far. If we end June without any more, then we'll technically be entering July with a below average number of triple-digit days, which would be nice to say. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're not going to be able to play quick catch-up as we head through July and into August, though.
How many triple digits have we had in last year's month of July compared to the year before, or what we're expecting this year?
Yeah, that's a good question. I put together a list of the number of triple digits in the last 5 Julys. You can see last July had 10 triple digit days in the month of July of 2024. And then we saw a significant amount of triple-digit days there.
Big jump.
As we got into the year before that, 25 days in July 2023. That was actually the second most triple-digit days in the month of July until the previous year, where we had the most triple-digit days in the month of July, which was 29 back in July 2022. That was our record. And then, would you believe it, the year before that, we only had 1.
That's crazy. I don't believe it.
Yeah, well, what a difference, too, going from one July to the next, and the difference it can make here.
The entire month, practically, in 2022 was full of triple-digit days. And then July 2021, we only had 1?
Yeah, and then 20 days in July 2020. And what we've actually found, looking at the changing averages for the number of triple-digit days in Austin, is that they've been going up decade by decade due to climate change. It used to be we only averaged 11 triple-digit days a year in Austin back 3-4 decades ago, and now we average 29. So we've seen a big increase in the number of triple-digit days every year, a lot of them coming in July and August due to climate change, which we've certainly been feeling the effects of here over the last several decades.
Wow, Nick. Well, it looks like we're expected to see a really hot July this year.
Yeah.
What are some heat safety advice that you can share with our viewers?
Yeah, we got to think about staying comfortable. Air conditioning is key for that. Of course, not all people here in Central Texas can either purchase air conditioning, have air conditioning, or can afford to pay for air conditioning, which actually brings us to our fan drive that it's really year-round and certainly throughout the summer, but it peaks for us on July 11th, where we're asking for fans or funds to help Family Elder Care provide fans for people here in Central Texas who couldn't necessarily either afford to pay for their AC bill, so they just don't turn it on, or they don't have AC. So staying as comfortable as you can inside during the hottest part of the day, which is the middle of the day through the early part of the evening, is key. Remembering your pets as well is important. If the ground is too hot for you to have your feet on the ground bare, then you certainly don't want to put your pets at risk in putting their paws out on the ground as well. And the hottest time of the year, while July is one of our hottest months, there is actually about an 8-day period where our high temperatures every year usually reach their hottest. The highest average temperature we ever see in Austin from an average perspective, that's 99 from July 31st through August 14th. So that's climatologically our hottest time of the year here in Central Texas. Doesn't mean you can't see really hot temperatures before this or really hot temperatures after this, but just looking at the 30-year averages, this is usually when the heat peaks in Central Texas, and certainly that we want to be thinking about this during any hot period, late spring through the summer, even into early fall. It can be hot as well, Esme.
Nick, can we jump back to the precipitation outlook for July? Did you say it was going to be wetter or drier than normal?
It was actually one of those neithers.
Neithers.
It's expecting near average. I've got it up for you now. Near average, near normal, not really leaning wetter or drier sort of outlooks, which doesn't say a whole lot other than the fact that we don't usually get much rain in July anyway, so you shouldn't expect any more than typical. Now, if there were more activity in the Gulf or just the tropics in general, and one of those storms was able to move from the Caribbean into the Gulf or develop over the Gulf and then move inland, then that certainly could throw a wild card in and make for a wet July. It wouldn't take much rain to make a July wetter than normal should we get that sort of system to arrive. But for right now, it just looks to be a fairly average July from a rainfall perspective, and remember, from a temperature perspective, looking near normal from that perspective as well. So no big sort of huge takeaway about it being unusual any one way or the other here for this coming July.
Well, let's say that we do see a wetter normal July.
Mm-hmm.
What does that rainfall mean for the ongoing drought that we're seeing here in Central Texas?
Yeah, so the drought has actually been improving over the last few weeks. I can pop up our map looking at the drought comparison over the last week and how it has changed. There has been some improvements in parts of the hill country. I can even show you how it's changed in the last 4 months. The drought actually got worse in some parts of, say, southern Gillespie County. It got worse and now is an exceptional drought, whereas some parts that had that more widespread extreme drought 4 months ago actually saw some improvements there. So a little bit of a mixed bag. But as far as things stand here now, from a drought perspective, if we were to get unusually high amounts of rainfall in the month of July, it wouldn't take a whole lot to put a dent in our current drought. But remember, this last week has been dry. June will likely end up as being a drier than normal month because we really haven't had much rain so far this month. In fact, I can show you the rainfall we've had this month. None today yet. About 3/4 of an inch of rain so far this month. A normal June here in Central Texas gets 3 inches, so we're 2 1/3 below normal there. We're in a 3-inch rainfall deficit year to date. And I know the banner at the bottom there is covering up some of that part of the graphic. But generally speaking, after May being our wettest month in a long time, several months, and our first wetter than normal month in 10 months, we're going back to being dry again. So I would anticipate that when we get a drought update here this Thursday, that our drought will start to worsen again. Certainly very little rain over the last week is unlikely to make it improve. And unless we were to get some bonus rainfall and make for a wetter than normal July, we'll probably see the drought slowly getting worse here through the summer too.
Nick, can you remind our viewers why it is so important that we rely on this rainfall during this time of year? Why do we need it so much?
Yeah, so we have a wet season, and I can possibly pull it up here. Our flash flood season does somewhat correspond with our wettest season here in Central Texas. Technically, flash flood season does continue into July, by the way, but May and June is when we get the highest occurrences of flash flooding. And peak of flash flood season is June. So we typically get so much of our beneficial rain in the months of May and the first half of June. And if we don't get that, that can worsen the drought heading into summer. Typically, of your home's water usage, 70% of that comes from irrigation, watering the grass and your plants. And if you don't get that rain in May and June to recharge our lakes, recharge our aquifers, then we're taking so much of the water in the hottest summer months when we're not replenishing that because we don't get a lot of rain in the summer, especially in July, although August is wetter than July usually, that it will likely mean that our drought gets worse, our lake levels get lower, our aquifers get more depleted here. So it's not good if we were to have another dry month here into July. The one saving grace is that July is normally dry anyway. It's worse when you don't get rain in a month that should be wet, kind of like June. So June has had 3/4 of an inch of rain so far in Austin, and we should have had more than about 3.5 inches of rain. So we've had less rain than we should have had in June, heading into a month that is usually dry in July. So we'll see how it plays out. Any bonus rain we can get in July would be a big help, and it would also reduce people's water usage at home, and they wouldn't be using it as much on the grass and on their plants because they'd be getting it from Mother Nature anyway.
What are some tips for our viewers to reduce that water usage throughout the month of July?
Throughout the month of July, well, you can reduce it anyway by investing in local native plants that don't typically rely on a lot of water and certainly don't rely on more water than we can provide here in Central Texas. You can also do a process known as xeriscaping, where you replace a lot of the grass and the water-sucking plants around your yard with rock beds or much lower water-producing plants surrounded by rocks instead. It may not look as pretty, but it does significantly reduce your water usage. You can also invest in a lot of lower water using plumbing equipment like toilets and that sort of thing that can make a difference. And then, of course, certainly wish that a lot of commercial places that you see using sprinklers in the middle of a hot afternoon, I wish they wouldn't do that, and they could certainly play their part too. And if you have to use your sprinklers, using them at a time of day where that water is not getting wasted, where it gets fully absorbed into the ground before it starts getting evaporated would be a good idea. Generally speaking, that is in the mid to late evening or in the early morning so it can soak in before the sun comes up and it all starts to dry out again.
Well, Nick, I'm not sure if you have this graphic in your list right now, but hopefully you can pull it. Can you give us a look at the rest of today's weather and the rest of the week?
Yeah, let's first start by looking outside. This is how it looks as we record this at 3:26 in Bastrop with some rain and storms around. This is from our Ally Medical Emergency Room camera there. This is not going to be a widespread rain, but for some of you who haven't had a whole lot of rain lately, especially over the last week, you're going to be loving this. We certainly are. It's not the type of rain that ruins your plans and more just the type of rain that we get excited about. And some of this rain is actually drifting into the Austin metro as we speak. Bastrop County has the highest coverage of rain with a few non-severe thunderstorms, but we're even seeing some rain in southeast Austin now too. And in fact, let me see. This is going to take a second here, so I might have to dance around. I'm going to try and change one of our cameras behind the scenes here to our Circuit of the Americas camera.
It looks like South Austin is getting all that rain.
Off the screen. Circuit of the Americas, as I'm getting it ready to show you.
Lots of rain.
Look at
there.
that.
Wow. That's
How
a
about
beautiful
that?
sight.
It's a beautiful sight in late June, where our rainfall of early June and certainly May typically cuts off. So some beneficial downpours and some isolated storms moving through the area now. We expect that we'll have some widely scattered showers and storms again tomorrow. Those rain chances drop off on Thursday. Friday and Saturday are looking drier, and then rain chances try to creep back up again Sunday, Monday, and especially into Tuesday. From a temperature perspective, as we get drier, the temperatures go up. We're currently forecasting that we'll avoid triple digits through the end of the year, end of the month, which ends on Monday. July begins on Tuesday. Still, it is going to be above average, though. Normal for this time of year is 94, and we're looking to be about 3 degrees above average here as we head into the later part of this week through the weekend and into early next week. And of course, on KXAN News, starting at 4, we'll be tracking this beneficial rain moving through the area right now. Let me give you one more look out at the Circuit of the Americas. What a great way to end our broadcast here with some of that rain coming down. This is not the type of rain that would really have much of an impact on the drought. We're looking for localized quarter-inch amounts or less, and then it moves on. But we'll take any rain we can get. Of course, rain like this, though, does mean that you turn off the sprinklers for a few days and not have to water the plants, and every little bit of that helps.
Yeah, and even though we're not at those triple digits, it's still extremely hot. So if anyone is trying to work out during the day, what are the best times for them to do that?
Yeah, working out, it's almost like the morning is your best opportunity, because even though temperatures come down in the evening, it is still very warm in the evening, and the ground is still warm. It retains a lot of that heat that doesn't eventually get lost until the morning time. So early morning is your best bet, probably just after sunrise, so that you can see where you're going and other people can see you. So morning's your best time to work out, and best time to walk your dog as well.
Yeah, best time for the doggies.
Yeah.
Well, we have that article, the July forecast outlook, here on our website, KXAN.com. It's published on our homepage. You can find it very easily. What else is in here that we didn't get to talk about?
Well, we've covered this and then some. I'll tell you, Esme, this has been a very comprehensive chat. Graphics I didn't even have ready. I had to bust out here, so we're keeping me on my toes. But this certainly digs into July, what is typical, and the triple digits of recent years and our number of triple digits here by month. I'll tell you that the July outlook will get updated again next Monday with the final view from the Climate Prediction Center the day before July begins. We'll see if there's any tweaks coming next Monday, but generally speaking, July looks like it'll be very much like July this year.
Yes, a typical July for us here in Texas.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me, Nick. Everyone who is watching live right now on our social medias, our website, or our mobile app, we'll see you here again next Tuesday afternoon with another special segment of Nick's First Warning Weather.
Yes, actually, I won't be here next week. I'll be on vacation, but we'll have to wait 2 weeks. How about that?
Okay, 2 weeks. We'll see you then. Thank you, Nick.